Hello everyone, back to today's final video. So we've done the month ahead forecast, which you find on the month ahead forecast page. Quite a complicated August forecast this month, but we're going for a slightly cooler and wetter than average month. There's a lot of uncertainty associated with that. So if you want to know what could be around the corner for August, do check out the August month ahead forecast on the month ahead forecast page. We're just going to be having a look at weather next week to 10 days, and we've got a discrepancy between the GFS and the ECMWF about developments over the next week to 10 days. The GFS looks really quite cool and unsettled after a brief warmer period around Friday, Saturday, whereas the ECM goes for quite a prolonged, potentially anyway, quite a prolonged warm, maybe even hot spell at some point in the next week, 10 days. I'll show you all the detail in a second. We'll start off by looking at the rain we've got coming up in the south. It's very dry July across much of southern and southeastern England, but things have altered quite a bit today, so we'll be having a look at that in a second. Bringing on with that, just to say about our charity fundraiser. So we've finished raising money for Warwickshire and Northamptonshire Ambulance now. Big thanks to everybody that's donated. We've raised over £1,000, well over £1,000. With adding in gift aid, it comes to nearly £1,500. So a big thanks to everybody that's done that. I've already done a video about that. You can find that on the fundraising page here at Gavs. Obviously, a link to that is on the homepage. So, also to say about the ads, there's links right on the page. Have a browse widgets and click through the links. You'll be having us to pay for our website, and thanks very much for doing that. There's also video ads on most pages. You say, own that content when you watch it close back up again, and it does help to pay for Gav's weather vid. So, starting with the radar picture from the weather outlook, here we go, and we've got a lot of rain across southern, southwestern parts. Going to some bright colours in there, indicates some quite heavy and persistent rain in places as well. It's going to be pushing northwards and eastwards through the rest this afternoon and into this evening. This is the high resolution Euro 4 precipitation forecast website Weather Online. You can find a link to Weather Online on the links page. So this is 6 o'clock in the evening. You can see very wet across much of Wales, southwest England, coming into the south and West Midlands by then. Some dark blue colours indicate some really persistent heavy rain indeed. By midnight, most of England and Wales is looking wet. Some really wet weather moving in through the course of this evening, covering just about all places from the North Midlands southwards. And you see again some deep blue colours indicate some really quite heavy rain indeed. By 6 o'clock in the morning, the worst of that is moving out of weather, but we still have got quite a bit of wet weather down around the south coast and through the channel. And that rain will be light and patchy, but it will be on and off in the south through much of tomorrow morning. So once we top the totals up, here we go, up 6 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, and we can see that quite widely across England and Wales. We're having anything from around, say, 10 to 20 millimetres of rain down in the southwest, over parts of South Wales, down in towards the West Country and along the south coast. Because anything up to 25, 30 millimetres, maybe even a bit more. That's over an inch of rain possible down across the southwest and through South Wales as well. That will be more rain in just a few hours on the first day of August. Be more rain than throughout the whole of July across much of southern and southeastern, southwestern England. So quite remarkable turnaround of fortunes for those parched gardens, I think, coming up this evening and overnight. So as I said at the start of the video, we have got a discrepancy going on at the moment between the GFS and the ECMWF as to the outcome of the weather during the next week to 10 days. So we'll have a look at 500 millibar height anomalies for the next week to 10 days first. We've got the ECMWF here on the top. The GFS, I'll look at it in a moment, is on the bottom. 500 millibars, 80,000 feet, is an area in the atmosphere high pressure, low pressure being moved around by the jet stream running above. Blue extrapolates to low pressure and orange extrapolates to high pressure. So what we see here, this takes up to the 10th of August, and we see the ECMWF is placing quite a big ridge here across central parts of Europe, has a trough stuck in the Atlantic. and it means that the flow is coming up from a southerly, southeasterly direction. So not only is that quite settled for the next week to 10 days, a lot of dry weather, also is potentially very warm, if not hot, because the air could well be moving up from a south or southeasterly direction around that ridge. However, if you look at the GFS, it's very, very different. The GFS is much flatter. We've got ridging down to the south of us, and then we've got this deep trough of low pressure up to the north, and the jet stream coming more or less through the country like that. So that's significantly cooler. It's significantly more unsettled as well. And it's just very, very different that to the ECMWF. You don't see this all that often, because more often than not, the GFS and the ECMWF these days, used to be different years ago when the models weren't as good, but these days the GFS and the ECMWF tend to agree quite a bit up to the week to 10 day period. So it's quite unusual to see such a stark difference between these two models at a relatively short time frame. So have a look at the GFS temperature precipitation ensembles for the next 2 weeks. The red line here, dealing with temperatures first of all, the red line is the 30-year temperature average. So we're a bit up and down. We're starting off quite cool now. Going to go a bit warmer, and then go cooler again, and then go warmer into the weekend. And then after that, it looks like we're just hovering around the 30-year temperature average. There is quite a lot of scatter there, so there are some members of the GFS ensembles that are doing what the ECMWF is doing today, which is bringing us some quite hot weather into the second week of August. But there's so many members that are going quite cool at the same time as some of the other members are going hot, but you can't really decipher much. It's a proper 50-50 split on that, and not in agreement in terms of the GFS ensembles in terms of an outcome. We've also got precipitation spikes. So here's today's rainfall just here. Really wet weather across much of England and Wales overnight. We've already looked at that. Be more rainfall in towards the middle part of the week. Then it turns drier to the end of the week and into the weekend before it looks like rainfall spikes coming back a little bit as we go through into the second week of August. Again, that's associated with all of this scatter within the temperature part of the ensemble. So not good agreement on an outcome as going to a second week of August. Temperature anomalies are going from the 1st to the 9th of August, generally around average, maybe a little bit above for England and Wales, maybe a little bit below for Scotland. But overall, not a big deviation in terms of those temperatures for the coming week. Precipitation also looks rather odd, with wetter than average conditions or anomalies on the 1st to the 9th of August down across the south of the country, drier through the central swathe, and then a bit wetter again for Scotland and Northern Ireland. That looks quite odd as well. This rain in the south is probably associated with the rain that we've got over the next few hours, actually. Once we get that out of the way, I would suspect the south will be fairly dry, certainly up to the weekend, and then things could change again into next week. So here's the generic charts. This is the GFS for Friday, throwing up a little bit of a ridge into the southwest, but still generally unsettled with showers to the north. Then going to weekend, we do build this ridge up across the south, so this is bringing potentially a very warm day across England and Wales on Saturday. You could see temperatures approaching 80 Fahrenheit in the southeast on Saturday. But notice this deep area of low pressure out in the Atlantic. This is unusually deep Atlantic storm for the time of year. I think the central pressure with this is around 985, maybe 980 millibars. That's more like the sort of central pressure of low pressure that you would see in the Atlantic in October than August. So that's a unusually deep storm. And what happens on Sunday is that runs up to the north and west of Scotland. Now, this could bring gale force winds across Scotland on Sunday, but at the same time England and Wales is still under this ridge, so you could have a very odd day on Sunday with potentially gale force winds and heavy rain for Scotland and a distinctly autumnal feel, whereas central southern parts of England and Wales on Sunday could be seeing temperatures up to around 25, 26, 27 degrees again, approaching 80 Fahrenheit. So quite a bizarre sort of day coming up potentially on Sunday. But by the time you go through to Monday, the GFS has us all in a more unsettled flow then, as this secondary trough is moving in from the Atlantic, bring cooler air across the whole country early next week and showers or longer spells of rain. And then we stay in that cooler northwesterly flow as we go through into the middle part of next week. And by day 10, which is Thursday, 11th of August, little bit of a transient ridge, but it's still unsettled. This weather still moving in off the Atlantic, bringing showers, possibly longer spells of rain. Another low pressure moves in at the end of next week. This is the 12th of August, bringing more wet weather in across the country. So the GFS definitely, sort of the height anomalies, definitely unsettled through the course of next week, and quite cool as well. After albeit a brief warmer, drier interlude in the south over the weekend. The ECMWF bow is much warmer and drier, so this is how we go into Friday in a showery, fairly cool northwesterly flow. Over the weekend, high pressure builds up from the Azores. There's that storm in the Atlantic on Saturday. It's a little bit further away. I think this could be the key, really, this area of low pressure. This could be the key, actually, to what happens next week. The ECMWF places this further away from Scotland, so it's less impactful on Sunday. Scotland won't get gales with this. There could be rain in the very, very far north and western Scotland on Sunday, but generally this low pressure is keeping itself away from Scotland, which leaves most parts of the UK mostly dry, sunny and very warm throughout the weekend. And then that has knock-on effects as we go into the start of next week, because as the GFS was bringing low pressure down across the country on Monday, the ECMWF actually entrenches the high pressure across the country. So that's the difference. I think it's that storm on Saturday, Sunday, that is the difference about what happens next week. If that storm is moving through Scotland on Sunday, then we could go unsettled and cool next week. If that storm keeps away from Scotland on Sunday particularly, then it allows this high pressure to really build across the country and keep dry, warm, maybe even potentially hot conditions going into the start of next week. That's what the ECMWF does. So this is Tuesday the 9th, with a bit of a heat wave going on at that point, particularly for the south. High pressure is anchored over the top of the country, bringing hot conditions and dry weather, and that high pressure is still there into Wednesday the 10th of August. So you see winds are coming in from the east-southeast. That's dragging up hot air off the continent. You could easily see temperatures up to 30 degrees, I would have thought, with that kind of pattern. And then we go through to day 10. This is the last chart of this morning's ECMWF run, and low pressure then starting to develop in the Atlantic. That could well be bringing thunderstorms into the south and west, so signs of breakdown by day 10 to something thundery. But that really is quite an extended run of very warm, if not hot weather from the ECMWF, starting over the weekend and then lasting throughout most of next week. But GFS doesn't agree with that at all. And I think it's that storm on Saturday night into Sunday that is the difference about what happens next week. If the GFS has got the track of that storm right, we could be looking at quite a cool, unsettled week next week. If the ECM is right, then it could be a case of game on for summer. And of course, that will blow for Gav's Weather Vid's August forecast, which was released a couple of hours ago. That will blow it out of the water. So it's all on a knife edge, and we're going to see what happens. We'll probably know more tomorrow about which way this is going. I think it's 50-50 really between the ECM and the GFS. So just going to wait and see what happens. Right, that's all now. Don't forget to check out the August month-end forecast if you've not yet done so. Terry Scully also released his August forecast yesterday, which was for quite a hot August as well. So check that out if you would like. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.